We have another rebrand in the NHL. Yesterday, it was the St. Louis Blues. Today, it's the Boston Bruins. And like St. Louis, Boston is going back. They're doing a little bit of a retro look. So before we do, go ahead and take a look at it. If you guys are new to the channel and you like hockey jersey content, please make sure to hit subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get into it. Before we do get into the jerseys, I want to take a quick look at Boston's new logos because there is two different variations. So these are the new logos. They were actually released, I think it was 2 days ago now. I didn't talk about them then because I knew the jerseys were coming and just in a couple of days, so I thought I would do it all in one video. If these logos look familiar though, that is because they did use them during their Centennial season. So of course, this is their alternate jersey that they used during the Centennial season, not one of these logos that they're using, but they used these logos on the home and away jerseys during that season, although they were like the sparkly gold, where here it'll just be yellow. There's not going to be any gold on these jerseys. I do like these logos for Boston though. You know, I like the fact that there is two different variations, one for a dark background, one for a light background. And I mean, even though it's not a huge departure from what Boston has used in the past, it still looks nice. You know, I wouldn't be overly surprised, to be honest, if people don't really notice a difference with these new Boston logos compared to previous ones. Like even, you know, their previous Boston logo, it is very similar to the one with the black B. You know, it looks really close to that. It's basically just a couple of black lines that have been removed, kind of simplifies it a little bit more. Yeah, it's not a huge change for Boston, but I do think it looks nice. With that out of the way though, let's go ahead and take a look at the jerseys. So here is the home. We've known that this is going to be the home jersey for, I think, a couple of months now. It was back in April, I believe, that, you know, we saw this jersey. It was leaked. If you guys, you know, didn't hear at the time, there was a CBC story where they were talking about how the tariffs might affect the made in Canada jerseys, and they ended up showing this jersey unintentionally. So yeah, we've known that this is what the Boston Bruins were going to be going to for, you know, a little while here. And it looks nice. It is a very nice looking jersey. It is very similar to what Boston has used in the past. It's very similar to what Boston used last year as well in the Centennial game against the Montreal Canadiens. They used a jersey that is so similar to this. I'll put both up on screen. Very, very minor differences. The biggest one I would say is the fact that the yellow does not go all the way down to the cuff. That's probably the biggest one. There is a new shoulder patch, and obviously they took off the Centennial game patch as well. And I forgot to mention that the collar is different on these new jerseys compared to the Centennial game jersey. The Centennial game jersey did actually have a little bit of yellow up top and had kind of like a little bit of a half collar, where these is just all black. Aside from that, they're the exact same jersey, but it is a very nice looking jersey. Honestly, I do find it a little bit funny how both Boston and St. Louis did a rebrand at the exact same time. They're both going back to kind of retro looks, and both teams, at least in my opinion, had some of the best home and away jerseys in the NHL, but I also really wanted both teams to change it because the Boston Bruins had been wearing that previous jersey since I think like 2007. It was a very long time that they had been wearing that jersey, so I was definitely ready for a change for Boston, even though I did like those jerseys. I thought they looked nice. So them switching over to these ones here, completely down with it. I am really, really happy with it because, yeah, very nice looking jerseys. I'm happy for just a little bit of a refresh for Boston, and them implementing a little bit of that Centennial season into their new jerseys. Totally down with it as well because those Centennial jerseys were really, really nice. This is my favorite Boston Bruins jersey. I think it looks phenomenal. I would be so excited if they wanted to bring this one back as a third jersey. Definitely would be down. But let's go ahead and take a look at a few more pictures. So this picture right here is of the shoulder patch. Now, the one thing that I really don't like about these jerseys is they only have one shoulder patch. That's it. There's not another shoulder patch on the other shoulder. It's just on the left side. Really disappointed with that. I really don't like when teams only have one shoulder patch, so that is something that I am not a huge fan of with these ones here. I've seen some people speculate that maybe they have only one shoulder patch to allow them to have some space for patches in the future, like an anniversary patch or a retirement patch, whatever it may be, since the ad patches are now kind of reserved in that spot where those patches used to go. And yes, they could put it on the left-hand side, but then it starts to get crowded, especially if you have a captain or an alternate captain. We saw that with the Stanley Cup final. People really not happy with that, and I'm definitely on board. You know, I'm definitely was not happy about it either. I definitely would prefer for ad patches to go on the shoulder or go on the sleeve, something like that. But yeah, we saw like Carolina, for example, and their 25th anniversary, they had to make their anniversary patch really small and put it on the sleeve because there wasn't any room elsewhere with their jerseys. They had no room, so maybe Boston is kind of trying to think in the future of, you know, where they would put some patches and they would leave some space right there. If that is the case, I'm not super excited about it, to be honest, because I don't want more teams to have only one shoulder patch. I would much prefer if, even if they did only have one shoulder shoulder patch and they had an ad patch, I'd be fine with moving that ad patch up onto the shoulder. Even if it would be two different patches, I would still be kind of fine with it. That is where I prefer my ad patches anyways, is on the shoulder. I mean, I would prefer my jerseys without them, but yeah, anyways, that's just what I saw some people, speculating that it's possible that is the reason why they only had the one shoulder patch. But I do like the shoulder patch. I think it looks nice. I love the bear there. I really like when Boston uses the bear and it just having Bruins right in the middle. Yeah, that looks really sweet. I also just think the detailing on the bear, like that looks pretty good. Like I was a little bit surprised that there is kind of a little bit more detail, at least than I expected. We can go on. So this right here is the little tag that just, sits in the back of the jersey. I believe that this one is for the home jersey because it does also match what is on the shoulder where it says Bruins, where if we do take a look at the away jersey, which we will in a second, we can see that it does say something else. It doesn't have Bruins on the shoulder patch. But then our next picture here is just a quick picture of the uniforms. So the uniforms do look pretty good. I mean, it's just all black, to be expected with Boston. I do really like the kind of word mark on the pants though. I think that looks good. And if we take a look at the numbers, they look very similar to what Boston has used, even just last year. The numbers, at least to me, don't look like anything new, but I don't think they needed to do anything different. I think the numbers look fine. Let's move on. We can now take a look at the away jersey. So this is the away. I actually really like the away jersey a lot. I think the away jersey looks phenomenal. It looks amazing. I really like the black cuffs on this jersey. I think that looks great. The striping is nice. It is a very simple jersey for Boston. It's nothing going outside of their comfort zone, but I still think it looks very nice. This is just a close-up image of the logo here. There is a little bit of a 3D effect going on with the B there, but that's about it. Not really like you can have a ton of 3D effects on this logo. And then with the shoulder patch here, this is where we can see that difference. On the away, it says Boston, and where we looked at previously, the home said Bruins. So I like that. That is a little bit different. It's kind of neat, and that also is reflected on the back hem as well, where this one says Boston. And like I said previously, the one that we looked at says Bruins. So yeah, just something a little bit different, but I do think that is nice. And so yeah, that is all the pictures that we have to look at. I don't have the uniforms for the away jersey. I would like to look at those, but at least from what I saw, they haven't uploaded any of those as of right now. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this change for the Boston Bruins. It is somewhat funny that they are going back to, basically the Bobby Orr era jerseys when Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out, just I think this summer, right? I'm pretty sure at least, fairly soon here, it's coming out. I don't think they would have timed that intentionally, but I guess they very well could have. I'm not really too sure if it was intentional or not, but either way, it works for the Boston Bruins, and I'm sure they're happy that it's coming out at the same time as the Happy Gilmore movie. I'm sure that, whether it was just a coincidence or it was planned, I'm sure they're down with it either way. But yeah, for me, I do think it was time for the Boston Bruins to make a change, and I'm okay with them going back to these jerseys here. I think they look very nice. Would I have liked something new for the Boston Bruins? Yes, I do think I would have, but I still think this is a very good choice for them. I think they look very nice in these jerseys. So overall, I would give it, I'm not sure if I would rate it quite as high as I rated St. Louis. I think I still would give it like an 8 or an 8.5. I think is probably where I would land. I would like another shoulder patch though. That is for sure. I would want 2 shoulder patches. And other than that, yeah, I don't really have a ton to complain about. So those are just my thoughts, though. I would love to know what you guys think. I appreciate all the support on the St. Louis video. I do appreciate that. There was, a lot more support on there than I really initially expected. So thank you for that. But that is going to do it for me. Let me know, like I said, what you guys think about these jerseys in the comments down below. And if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all my social medias, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.